So
icky?
Could be icky, I guess. I just assumed he was British, and British, that you don't tend to pronounce that final E.
Yeah, that's why chops are chops, not choppies.
So,
I thought that was
let's
funny.
take a minute before we get into anything else for a word from our sponsors. Alrighty, so let's talk about the origin of Reptilian.
Mom, do you feel sponsored?
I do feel sponsored. Do you feel
Sponsored.
I always feel sponsored.
I
But
feel
then again,
sponsored.
I feel sponsored daily. Mostly because... You know,
I feel sponsored by,
Sponsored.
yeah, pretty much.
speaking of which,
Hey, this is Kate from Ignorance Was Bliss. Whatever you celebrate, and whether you're using it as a way of leaving stuff in the past, or looking forward to the future, or just enjoying the moment, I hope you have a good one, and I hope you know that you matter.
I talked to Kate from Ignorance Was Bliss, was telling her that we'd have to have her on as a guest since we were a guest on her show.
Uh-huh.
And she says she doesn't think we're cool enough for us. She's cool enough for us. And I was like, we'll find something for you to talk about now.
She doesn't think she's cool enough for us. That's a lie.
What?
She's cool enough for us. If anything, it's opposite.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you mean we're not cool enough for her to
Yeah,
come
but-
be on our show?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. Now, Michael Barkin, professor of political science at Syracuse University, says that he thinks that the idea of a reptilian conspiracy originated in fiction. Specifically, the Conan the Barbarian Robert E. Howard story, The Shadow Kingdom, which was published in Weird Tales in 1929. The story drew on the theosophical ideas of the lost worlds of Atlantis and Lemuria, particularly Helena Blavatsky's The Secret Doctrine, written in 1888, with its reference to dragon men who once had a mighty civilization on the Lemurian continent. Howard's serpent men were described as humanoids with human bodies and snake heads, who were able to imitate humans at will,
Serpent men.
who lived in underground passages and used their shape-changing and mind control abilities to infiltrate humanity.
That's how we got toxic people.
Clark Ashton Smith used Howard's serpent men in his stories as well as themes from H.P. Lovecraft, and he, Howard, and Lovecraft together laid the basis for the Cthulhu mythos. So the Reptilians are kind of along that Cthulhu mythos line, which is kind of neat for me, because I'm a fan. In the 1940s, Maurice Doreal, also known as Claude Goggins, which I would change my name to that from Maurice Doreal, I'll tell you that, wrote a pamphlet entitled Mysteries of the Gobi that described a serpent race with bodies like men but heads like a great snake and the ability to take on human form. These creatures also appeared in Doreal's poem, The Emerald Tablets, in which he referred to tablets written by Thoth, an Atlantean priest king.
Thoth.
Thoth, Thoth.
I see.
Barkun asserts that in all likelihood, Doreal's ideas came from the Shadow Kingdom, and that in turn, the Emerald Tablets form the basis for David Icke's book, Children of the Matrix, which is where he puts forward the idea of reptilians in the New World Order.
Sure.
Historian Edward Grumont has argued that the reptilian conspiracy theory, particularly as expounded by Icke, drew from earlier pseudo-historical legends developed during the colonization of Africa, particularly surrounding Great Zimbabwe and the Mokele Mbembe.
Sounds like some Lion King names.
Well, the Mokele Mbembe is a cryptid. And if you see it drawn, most of the time it looks like an apatosaurus.
An apatosaurus?
What we used to call brontosaurus until we realized we got the head wrong. But There have been multiple expeditions to the region of Africa where they're thought to exist that have not turned up anything. Doesn't necessarily prove anything. As I always say, absence of evidence is not evidence of absence.
Very nice. I'm rather lyrical. I'm impressed here.
Well, it comes from all sorts of places, baby.
I've
heard it multiple places before I started saying it, but it makes sense.
I got you.
Well, that does make sense.
Now, certain people who get abducted by aliens claim that their abductors are not the Greys, but rather these alien humanoids. One of the earliest reports was that of Ashland, Nebraska police officer Herbert Shermer, who under hypnosis recalled being taken aboard a UFO in 1967 by humanoid beings with a slightly reptilian appearance who wore a winged serpent emblem on the left side of their chest. Now, skeptics, of course, consider his claims to be a hoax, but man, that just works for me. Especially with Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent. And if he was actually an alien that taught the Aztecs, then and the Mayans, then I don't know. I don't know. So, but there are reports of them abducting humans, and those humans come back, apparently. Now, David Icke, in his book, Children of the Matrix...
Sounds like a very old-timey book.
Yeah, 1999.
Mm-hmm.
But in his 1999 work, The Biggest Secret, tall, blood-drinking, shape-shifting reptilian humans from the Alpha Draconis star system now hiding in underground bases are the force behind a worldwide conspiracy against humanity. He contends that most of the world's ancient and modern leaders are related to the royal family, are related to the Reptilians, including the Merovingian dynasty, the Rothschilds, the Bush family, and the British royal family. Icke's conspiracy theories have supporters in up to 47 countries, and he's given lectures to crowds of up to 6,000 people. American writer Vicky Santillano included Icke's conspiracy theory in her list of the 10 most popular conspiracy theories. A poll of Americans in 2013 indicated that 4% of the registered voters believed in David Icke's ideas.
I'm paying attention. Slightly.
Like I said, so far you're seeing there's just not a lot of evidence. But again, the evidence is absent. It's not evidence of absence.
Right.
Right.
Now, mentions of these things turn up in politics from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hilarious. There was a leader of the Ontario Liberal Party named Dalton McGuinty. A press release distributed by the Progressive Conservative Party of Ontario referred to him as an evil reptilian kitten eater from another planet.
An evil what?
Kitten eater.
A kitten eater.
Yes. In the closely fought 2008 U.S. Senate elections in Minnesota between comedian and commentator Al Franken and incumbent Senator Norm Coleman, one of the ballots challenged by Coleman included a vote for Franken with lizard people written in the space provided for write-in candidates.
Of course, that's going to be the lizard people. Yep.
Lucas Davenport, who later claimed to have written the gag ballot, said, "I don't know if you've heard the conspiracy theory about the lizard men. A friend of mine, we didn't like the candidate, so we were at first going to write in revolution because we thought that was good and to the point. And then we thought the lizard people would be even funnier." In February 2011, on the Opie and Anthony radio show, comedian Louis C.K., who, let's just say right up front, guy didn't do good things, and he's in obscurity for a reason right now. But he jokingly asked former U.S. Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld if he and Dick Cheney were lizard people who enjoyed the taste of human flesh. Rumsfeld refused that he was. Never said he wasn't. Refused that he was a lizard person. And so Louis C.K. spent the rest of the interview picking on him about being a lizard person and claiming that they could not tell if you asked a lizard person if they were one, that something forbade them from saying, no, I am not. They either had to agree or just ignore the comment, which is what the guy did.
Well, I mean, if the shoe fits.
That's right. If the shoe fits.
It's better than the foo bird, so let's go.
A lot of the time it doesn't fit for me.
So let's talk about some of the other things that people have said. According to some people, one of many conspiracy theories that surrounds the reptilians is the idea that in large cities like New York and LA, the reptilians disguise themselves as human and get surface kids to come underground for big secret parties. And then, theoretically, the reptilians kidnap a few of these humans to use for food.
Well, why just kidnap a few? Why not take all of them and save yourself the hassle?
Oh!
I mean, if you're gonna be that ornate about it, to throw a freaking party, why not just, if you're taking them underground?
Well, the way it works, supposedly, I say supposedly, the way it works supposedly is that they're these party recruiters that find homeless teenagers, right? And they tell them, hey, there's a party, it's underground, there's food, there's booze, there's and so they get them to come to these underground locations.
Sure.
And then they kidnap as many of them as they can get their little reptilian hands on. So that's the theory. And I will point out that a large number of homeless go missing every year. Every year. But, again, that's sort of a false conflation because being homeless is a dangerous thing, and a lot of them go missing probably for mundane reasons.
Well, yeah. Well, not necessarily mundane because there are bad things that happen to kids. Don't run away from home, kids. It's bad. Stay away from drugs. Drugs are usually bad. But yeah. I'm just like not to poo-poo on the reptilian circuit or anything, but the party thing is a bit out.
Yeah, I would think that might work in the 90s when raves were a thing.
Yeah.
But in 2020, when they're not, I think you'd have a hard time getting a bunch of homeless kids down into the sewers. Now, there is also a theory that there's a treaty called the Tau Treaty. It was entered into by President Eisenhower in the late 40s, early 50s. It contains the members of Majestic 12, which was either a group of scientists or a group of diplomats aware of aliens living on Earth, depending on who you listen to.
Yeah.
Anyway, the members of Majestic 12 met with several groups of aliens, supposedly, one of whom was the Reptilians. The reptilian part of the treaty was that they were to be allowed to harvest a certain number of humans and animals, thus explaining cattle mutilations, and the government's job would be to cover it up. It is believed that these creatures have been harvesting far more of both than the treaty allows, but that due to their superior weaponry, the U.S. government has really no way to punish them for violating the terms of the treaty.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
Furthermore, there are those people that will tell you that the reptilians worked with the Nazis in the 1940s to create a base in Antarctica using reptilian technology. And in fact, a group of allies fought a battle over that base that was kept hush-hush and quiet because the allies didn't do so well.
Okay, but if that was the case, and there was this Nazi base in Antarctica, then why didn't they win the war?